naming your device. As you can see, my device is reading my name. And I would also use this opportunity to let you know that I remain the moderator for these sessions. My name is Nefertiti Ohimai. And in case we run out of time and are unable to cover or answer your questions, be rest assured that we will definitely get back to you via email. And also don't forget that we'll be live on Amok Nigeria, that is our YouTube channel. And the link will be shared in the chat area, just in case we have members who are unable to join us here due to network glitches. They can as well join us on the YouTube channel. Thank you once again for joining us. And I believe tonight's session will be very beneficial to all of us. On this note, I'll humbly welcome our most worthy Grand Administrator and Director of the Supreme Board of Armor, Frater Kenneth U. Idiodi. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Sarah Nefertiti. Good evening to our fratres and sorors, Grand Lodge officers, International Research Council members, Grand Councillors, regional monitors, so masters of affiliated bodies that have identified on the screen. It's a pleasure to have you this evening, and I hope that for the next 1 hour or 1.5 hours, we'll have some time together to end the year with and begin to focus our thoughts on the new year in terms of our aims, aspirations, and goals. We are going to share some thoughts this evening on natal days and New Year resolutions. And I want us, fratres and sorors, to start with a little meditation. I ask that you place your feet firmly on the floor and take in the first deep breath and feel very good about your environment and release thoughts of light and healing to all our fellow humans throughout the face of the earth, wherever they are, so that the situations that we have all gone through this year may be ameliorated somehow for each and all. Just breathe in and out, and as you release, channel light and healing. Radiate love as well. And maintain thoughts of gratitude to God that in spite of the challenges of the year, many have survived it. We on this Zoom are witnesses, and let us send our thoughts of harmony and peace to those who, having lost some loved ones to the pandemic or through normal sickness, are in some sorrow or bereaved. And let these healing thoughts pervade the entire universe of which we're a part. And now, fratres and sorors, let us unite in invocation. God of our hearts, God of our realization, we acknowledge your presence with us wherever we are, because we know You are omnipresent and ubiquitous. We acknowledge your omnipotence and omniscience, your all-powerful and all-knowing nature, and are grateful for the many blessings you have showered upon humanity to rise up in knowledge, research, and capacity to cope with a ravaging pandemic, which has done a lot of harm to lives and livelihood throughout the face of the earth this year. We ask, as always, for your continued divine inspiration, guidance, and protection, and especially for your empowerment to enable those in health and the healing arts, in pharmacy, to come up with more and more of what it takes to prevent the pandemic, to overcome it through treatment and cure, and to restore normalcy to our planet. And may our acts of service as Rosicrucian students on the path ever be to your glory, the good of all, and the evolution of our soul personalities. So much it be. Francis and Soros, as this year, 2020, gradually comes to an end, gradually yielding to 2021, there are many human beings who are in a state of helplessness and hopelessness. They have no help coming from anywhere, and so they have lost all hope for survival. For them, the usual saying by optimists that next year will be a better year than this year makes no sense, because they are in a state of absolute sorrow, sadness, despair, and despondency. Even the philosophy of one day at a time means nothing to them, because in their experience, this world is wicked and there's no light at the end of the tunnel. If only such persons realize the value of natal days, New Year's, new beginnings, and New Year resolutions, they will confirm for themselves the adage that so long as there is life, there is hope. So let me start, Francis and Soros, by sharing with you that for every human being on earth, there are at least 3 new years, 3 new seasons annually, which are good for New Year resolutions. The first and the best is the natal day, that is your birth date. It is the beginning of your new year. The second is on or about the 21st of March, the spring or vernal equinox. It is the beginning of the natural year. The third is the 1st of January, which is the beginning of the new year in the Gregorian calendar. This is the one that is 2 years away, 2 days away, for those of us living in parts of the world, and in fact, in most parts of the world, it is kind of globally acknowledged as the new calendar year. According to my researches and understanding, New Year resolutions made during these periods tend to attract optimum cosmic cooperation in terms of successful execution by individuals and groups. This corroborates the spiritual injunction that to everything under the heavens, there is a time to be born and a time to die, a time to sow and a time to reap. Just so, brothers and sisters, there is a time to make New Year resolutions, and after that, of course, a time to execute them. Also, brothers and sisters, we read from Shakespeare that there is a time in the affairs of men which leads on to fortune. Omitted, all the voyages of their lives are bound in shallows and in miseries. These thoughts are elaborately confirmed and expatiated upon by former Imperator Dr. Harvey Spencer Lewis in the book Self, Mastery, and Faith with the Cycles of Life. Brothers and sisters, it is important to realize that there are over 24 different calendars in use, one time or another, in the world. Although the Gregorian calendar has become the most widely used by most countries in the world today, it is, however, not the only regulator of human activities on earth. I mean, going back, we've had the Egyptian calendar, ancient Greek calendars, the Celtic calendar, Zoroastrian calendar, French Revolution calendar, Sumerian calendar, Mayan calendar, Hindu calendar, the Buddhist calendar, Julian calendar, Japanese calendar, Persian calendar, Chinese calendar, Jewish calendar, Ethiopian calendar, calendars in the Indonesian eras, and of course, a lot of effort went into the Gregorian calendar. And it is primarily the one in vogue in most or very many countries of our modern world, the Western world. Indeed, the various calendars do not begin and end the same time, meaning therefore that the 31st of December is not the last day of the year for persons who are using other calendars. For example, the Chinese calendar or some of the ones I've mentioned. This is why we must realize the value of raising our consciousness above the limitations of time and space to effectively face life's unending challenges by our will and determination to perform without fail whatever we have resolved to do after proper cosmic attunement. Without question, brothers and sisters, the natal day or birthday is a unique day in one's life. Any birthday is an initiatic change from one year to another. It brings about an irreversible change in your life and reminds you that life moves in only one direction, and that is towards the future. A birthday then is a day of genuine sober reflection, contemplation, and meditation upon one's life, life pattern, lifestyle, attitude, character, and life mission. A birthday offers an opportunity for a thorough review of one's life purpose, vision, and mission. And beyond this, to make a New Year resolution, because indeed it is the beginning of another brand new year, which we must embrace with absolute gratitude to God. Francis and Soros, I have discovered one birthday resolution which never fails to yield specific dividends, and that is to resolve to plant one more seed in the garden of your personal philosophy of life. This reminds me of the story about the emperor and the seed. An emperor in the Far East was growing old and knew it was time to choose his successor. Instead of choosing one of his assistants or his children, he decided something different. He called many young people in the kingdom together one day. He said, "It is time for me to step down and choose the next emperor. I have decided to choose one of you." They were shocked, but the emperor continued, "I'm going to give each one of you a seed today, one very special seed. I want you to plant the seed, water it, and come back here after 1 year from today with what you have grown from this one seed. I will then judge the plants that you bring, and the one I choose will be the next emperor." One boy named Ling was there that day, and he, like the others, received a seed. He went home and excitedly told his mother the story. She helped him get a pot and plant in soil, and he planted the seed and watered it carefully. Every day, he would water it and watch to see if it had grown. After about 3 weeks, some of the other youths began to talk about their seeds and the plants that were beginning to grow. Ling, however, kept checking his seed, but nothing ever grew. 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks went by. Still nothing. By now, all the others were talking enthusiastically about their plants. But Ling didn't have a plant at all, and he felt like a failure. 6 months went by, and still nothing in Ling's pot. He just knew he had killed his seed. Everyone else had trees and tall plants, but he had nothing. Ling didn't say anything to his friends, however. He just kept waiting for his seed to grow. Finally, a year went by, and all the youths of the kingdom brought their plants to the emperor for inspection. Ling told his mother that he wasn't going to take an empty pot. But being honest about what happened, and although sick to his stomach, he knew his mother was right. He took his empty pot to the palace. When Ling arrived, he was amazed at the variety of plants grown by the other youths. They were beautiful in all shapes and sizes. Ling put his empty pot on the floor, and many of the others laughed jeeringly at him. A few felt sorry for him and just said, "You tried your best." When the emperor arrived, he surveyed the room and greeted the young people that were there. Ling just tried to hide in the back. "What great plants, trees, and flowers you have grown," said the emperor. "Today, one of you will be appointed the next emperor. All of a sudden, the emperor spotted Ling at the back of the room with his empty pot. He ordered his guards to bring him to the front. Ling was terrified. The emperor knows I'm a failure. Maybe he will have me killed, he quipped to himself. When Ling got to the front, the emperor asked his name. My name is Ling, he replied. The rest were laughing and making fun of him. The emperor asked everyone to be quiet. He looked at Ling and then announced to the crowd, behold, your new emperor. His name is Ling. Ling couldn't believe it. Ling couldn't even grow his seed. How could he be the new emperor? Then the emperor said, addressing them, 1 year ago today, I gave everyone here a seed. I told you to take the seed, plant it, water it, and bring it back to me today. The truth was that I gave you all boiled seeds, which will not grow. All of you, except Ling, have brought me trees and plants and flowers. When you found that the seed will not grow, you substituted another seed for the one I gave you. Ling was the only one with the courage and honesty to bring me a pot with my seed in it. Therefore, he is the one who will be the new emperor. Brothers and sorors, what have we learned? Very simple. If you plant honesty, you will reap trust. If you plant goodness, you will reap friends. If you plant humility, you will reap greatness. If you plant perseverance, you will reap victory. If you plant consideration, you will reap success. If you plant forgiveness, you will reap reconciliation. If you plant openness, you will reap intimacy. If you plant patience, you will reap improvement. If you plant faith, you will reap miracles. If you plant dishonesty, you will reap distrust. If you plant selfishness, you will reap loneliness. If you plant suspicion, you will reap sorrow. If you plant pride, you will reap destruction. If you plant envy, you will reap trouble. If you plant laziness, you will reap stagnation. If you plant bitterness, you will reap isolation. If you plant greed, you will reap loss. If you plant gossip, you will reap enemies. If you plant worries, you will reap wrinkles. So, brothers and sisters, let us be careful what we plant today. It will determine what you reap tomorrow. The seeds you scatter will make life better or worse, your life or the ones who will come after. Yes, Today, you will enjoy the fruits of your honesty and integrity, or you will pay for the selfish choices you today. Imagine planting and sowing seeds of light, life, and love, which on this path we are admonished to so do. Sowing seeds of good thoughts, good words, and good deeds as our personal philosophy of life, our way of life, and therefore begin to imagine how lovely our world, your world, can be. Let us continue to sow good seeds in life by our good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. When discussing New Year resolutions, we tend to think in terms of improving our character by dumping bad habits and replacing them with good ones. Frequently, we hear of chain smokers thumping their chests that they must quit smoking. Some persons assuring themselves that they must minimize their alcohol intake. Yet others assuring their families that henceforth they try to form the habit of returning home early each day. New Year resolutions may, however, also be made in the area of improving attitude to work in the office, improving interpersonal relationship, as well as skill acquisition, improvement and satisfaction in business conditions, as well as personal financial discipline. This includes diligence in study or natural pursuits, as well as dedication, intellectual pursuits, as well as dedication to spiritual ideals. We often make resolutions to stick to a certain diet by learning to eat what may not be so sweet, what we are not used to, as well as the avoidance of certain indulgences to improve our health, happiness, overall well-being, and personal peace. Based on your sense of values, I recommend that you highlight and write down your New Year resolutions in order of preference or priorities as meditation or prayer points. If we agree that every day and every sunrise is a new beginning, then we may also accept that a resolution may be made any day of the year. However, for the major life goals we pursue, they are best made at one's birthday, the natural new year, or about the 1st of January, which in this case is just the day after tomorrow. If you proceed within the first few days of the new month of 2021 to write down your New Year resolutions, place them in your sanctum, take them up to the celestial sanctum with a view to seeing yourself a better person than you are currently. You can visualize a better you in 2021 and work hard towards actualizing your visualization. You will be surprised how the universe will rearrange itself to fulfill your noble expectations. So mote it be. On this note, fratres and sorors, I request that you sit relaxed with your palms resting on your knees and your feet slightly apart, separated on the floor. Commence deep neutral breathing. You take in a deep breath without holding it. You exhale slowly without holding out. You inhale again. In and out at your own pace and rhythm, and so that your entire system is in a state of poise or equilibrium. And now concentrate on your two legs from the sole of your feet up to the hips. Up to the base of the spine and your waist area. While still breathing in and out slowly at your own pace, take your concentration to the abdomen of your body. Try to be conscious of the internal organs, the kidneys, and the muscles of your lower back. While thus concentrating, taking a deep breath and hold it for as long as comfortable, and then exhale. Concentrate now on your chest region up to the neck and including both arms from your fingers right through the lower arm, the upper arm to the neck. Be conscious of your heart, lungs, bone, muscle, and skin tissues of your arms, upper back, and neck. While still concentrating, taking a deep breath. Hold it for as long as comfortable and let it exhale. Concentrate now on your whole head. Try to be conscious of your tongue, lips, teeth, nostrils, and the ears, right into the canals, the eyebrows, the brain, facial skin, and hair follicles. Taking a deep breath and hold it for as long as it's comfortable, and then exhale. And now, trusses and furrows, let us visualize ourselves in a spherical ball of light. With the first deep breath, let us acknowledge the light of God within us and around us, so that when we are ready to exhale, our powers and our entire beings become charged with the brilliance of divine light. With the second deep breath, let us acknowledge the vital life force, the breath of life, and so that when we are ready to exhale, our auras and indeed our entire beings become charged with the vitality of divine life. Finally, with the third deep breath, let us acknowledge the love of God within us and around us. And so that when we are ready to exhale, our auras and indeed our entire beings become charged with the sublimity of divine. Thus imbued and infused with the light, life, and love of divine effulgence, let us unite in invocation. May the divine essence of the cosmos infuse our beings and cleanse us from all impurities of mind and body, that we may enter the celestial sanctum and attune in purpose and dignity. So much it be. Filling ourselves in this spherical ball of light, let us feel our consciousness rise with effortless ease to the top of our heads. Gradually, gradually, above the building where we are. Gradually, gradually, beyond the village, city, town, state, region where we are, above the country, above our continent, higher and higher, through the very medium and high clouds, through the various levels, above our planets, above our constellation, above the Milky Way galaxy, into that area in which we experience serenity, peace, that is central as a celestial sanctum. And that this cosmic, this field of cosmic energy, let us now visualize the egregore of the order in the shape of a pyramid of light surmounted by the raised base. And begin to express our gratitude and thanks to the God of our hearts, the God of our realization, the God of creation, having seen us to this point in this incarnation. And with absolute faith, prepare ourselves to entrust our New Year resolutions. Let us feel the sanctity of this environment and make a commitment to remain grateful users of creation, determined to evolve and create personalities in the service of our common humanity to God's glory. Be grateful to God for what we have been. Be grateful to God for what we are. Be grateful to God for what we hope to do. And begin to visualize our needs at the personal level, at the level of family, at the level of community, at the level of our order, at the level of our common humanity. We should declare what we want or need, knowing full well by attracting cosmic blessings and protection. We are under obligation to render service above self to all and sundry, our common humanity, our order, our community, our workplace, our home, our family, and of course ourselves. Ourselves. For the purpose of this attunement, select just one item, one point for meditation and prayer to yourself. What you want accomplished first, and under the auspices of the Gospels, capitalize on this and release abruptly into the cosmos, knowing full well that if it pleases the cosmos, it is done. The goal here is self-improvement, divine empowerment for service. Into the cosmic, we release our individual and collective impressions. It is done. God of our hearts, God of our realization, we assemble in your light, life, and love. Our help in ages past, and our hope for years to come. We are grateful for the many blessings that we have enjoyed in our lives in this incarnation. The blessings of your divine inspiration, guidance, and protection. The blessings of your empowerment for service to humanity under the auspices of the Rose Cross. And the blessings of guidance in our daily lives, in our productive means of livelihood, and the opportunity we have for the evolution of our soul personalities. Under the auspices of the Rosy Cross, we ask that you strengthen the egregore of our order, even as we send thoughts of health, peace, and enhanced capacity for service to our Imperator, Grand Masters and Administrators, our officers and members throughout the face of the earth, and all who are committed to restoring the light which is gone and the secrets which are best for man to know, to humanity in our dark and saddened world. We ask for your divine inspiration and revelations to those in research, in the medical arts and sciences, in the healing arts, for revelations that will enable them come up with the requisite vaccines, treatment, and cure for the ravaging pandemic. We ask for your succor and solace to those who have suffered immensely from this pandemic and who are in sadness, sorrow, and sickness, that they enjoy health, happiness, harmony, and peace. And to all of our common humanity, what it takes to conclude this year and enter the new year with blessings of divine empowerment for health, happiness, harmony, overall well-being, and peace profound. And may our acts of service ever bring glory to thy name, growth to our order, betterment to all of humanity, and evolution to our soul personalities. So much it be. And now, brothers and sorors, let us begin to return to our normal environment by the path we took ascending the ladder of lights. Gradually, return to full objective consciousness and become aware of your material surroundings. Now, in the grace of God, sanctify our attunement to the celestial sanctum and grant us the empowerment to rise up to what it takes to attain our New Year resolutions. So much it be. Brothers and sorors, I recommend that as we enter the new year by divine grace, we set aside some time in the morning and in the evening to attune with the celestial sanctum, not just for the welfare of our common humanity, but also for our personal and individual welfare in the realization and actualization of our New Year resolutions, what will make you a better you in 2021, make me a better me in 2021, make us better in 2021, to feel the impact of having evolved through pain, suffering, as well as through enjoyment and gratitude to God, the blessings of the cosmic in our quest for self-mastery, and of course, eventually, for the mastery of life. I will now hand ourselves over to our distinguished moderator, Sarah Nefe, who will take some comments, some questions, and I will say the final few words later on by way of a benediction to bring this forum to a close. Thank you so much, fratres and sorors, for paying attention and for participating.
Thank you so much, our most worthy Grand Administrator, for this beautiful session. You, distinguished fratres and sorors, you will agree with me that today has been very beautiful. I mean, the session and the theme, the topic, natal days and New Year resolution was just spot on. So before we take some questions or comments, I'll just give a bit of a summary. Our most worthy Grand Administrator stated there are 3 New Years in a person's life: our birthdays, the spring or vernal equinox, which is March 23rd, and January 1st, the New Year of the Gregorian calendar. He also mentioned the several calendars that we have, And then he also stated that to everything under the heavens, there is a time to be born and a time to die, a time to sow and a time to reap. And of course, there is a time for New Year resolutions, but we are to realize the values of raising ourselves beyond calendar and time. And he also stated every birthday is an initiatic change and very important in our lives. Every birthday is a time for genuine sober reflection, contemplation, and meditation on our life patterns, and requires thorough review of our life purpose, vision, and mission. So let us also be careful what we plant today to safeguard what we reap tomorrow. He has also encouraged us to make our New Year resolutions, which are best made on our birthdays, or the Gregorian calendar New Year, January 1st, which is 2 days from now, summarily. And then when we create it, we put it on our sanctums and take it up to the celestial sanctum level. He also mentioned the book, The Self-Mastery and the Circles of Faith, a book written by Harvey Spencer Lewis. So with this summary, we will be taking our comments and our questions. Sarah John Adam left a question already in the chat area. She's asking, is it possible to get a copy of the list of seeds planted from the presenter? So our most worthy Grand Administrator, you mentioned some seeds that if we plant, we would reap. So she's asking if after this presentation, we can have these seeds mailed to us, I suppose. But if it is possible for us to have it placed in the chat area and while we're taking the questions, that will be fine. But if not, we can also send it, or maybe there's a link or a site we could go get it on the internet. That would also help.
The answer is yes, and our technical crew will get this on. I think it may not be earlier than January the 4th, which is Monday. If it is, fine, but otherwise, next week it will be out.
Thank you very much, also the Grand Administrator. At the moment, I am checking through the chat area. I am yet to find any questions. Yeah, let me correct myself. I said self-mastery and faith. with the circles of life. Yes, that's the title of the
That's
book.
correct, yes.
Yes, thank you very much. So while we're waiting for comments or questions from distinguished frater dancers, I don't know, Moswadi Grand Administrator, if you still like to talk to us on a bit of on 1802.
Sure. You see, first of all, let me say this. New Year resolutions are serious issues. Some of these resolutions involve life-changing phenomenon. And every effort should be made by us to make them in an environment that will remind us of the seriousness they deserve. Let us see a situation in which somebody is in a joint or a bar. And it is in this environment, he's thumping his chest and saying that this year that we're entering will be a different year for me. I'm not going to do this or do that or do that. Let us imagine the case of a chain smoker. He wants to drop this habit, not because anybody has criticized him as such, but he knows that it's not good for his health. And prior to now, when he starts smoking, before that cigarette finishes, he brings in the next one and uses it to light the next, and so on and so forth. So he started with just 1, 2, 3 some years back. Before he knew it, to save matches, he uses one to light the other. That is how he became a chain smoker. Now, if such a person is making such a resolution in an environment where every other person is smoking and is rowdy and it's unlikely that he will succeed because he has not given it the level of seriousness and concern. If he was in the privacy of his home, in a corner, or in a church or mosque, synagogue or temple, he may go a long way and it will sink into the subconscious. And therefore, he has a greater chance of success with such a resolution. This will apply to, for instance, minimizing alcohol or changing and modifying diet, etc., etc., etc. It's something you think about. You go into the background and say, how did I come about being this or being that or being this? And you resort to introspection or self-analysis. And then you want to make a change. If it is to do with improvement and satisfaction in business conditions or with financial self-discipline, you want to call yourself to order to be a little bit more thrift in your spending habits and to question what you spend your income on so that you have something that you can save for the rainy day, which indeed for most this year has been a rainy year, with many not even having an income any month of the year and have to be on their reserves and so forth. So generally speaking, I want to say that this is not something we should be very lighthearted about. If we want to make changes in our lives at any level, physical and material, mental and intellectual, emotional and psychic, to do with relationships at home between you and your spouse, between you and your brothers, your siblings, between you and your parents, between you and your fiancé or fiancé, you know, you should weigh all the circumstances and place them in perspective, and then resolve to perform how you want to go about it, and perform without fail what you have resolved. And do that firmly and promptly, remembering all the time, whatsoever thou resolvest to do, do it quickly, defer not in the evening or the morning, accomplish. Defer not tomorrow today can accomplish. Defer not in next week or this week can accomplish. Defer not in next month or this month can accomplish, and so on and so forth. Are there some other questions now?
Yes, please. Thank you very much, also the Grand Administrator. There is a question from, okay, I think I'm going to merge two questions. We have questions from Edet Imekut and Henry Nzeka. Edet Imekut's question is there a limit to the number of New Year resolution? And Henry Nzeka is asking, in line with self-mastery and secular faith, which is the most appropriate period to make resolution, later day or secular, New Year or our New Year?
Okay, let me start it from the second question. You have 7 cycles in a year, in your year of 365 years, which is divided into 52 days per cycle. The first cycle, within the first few days of the first cycle, is when you make these resolutions. In your 7th period, which is the period preceding your birthday, you must have been thinking in terms of what to do in your next year. So when people are wishing you happy birthday, you are making notations and jottings already of what's your future direction, bearing in mind that what you do at the moment to a great extent determines your future. And so you will have resolved that this coming year, I will be creative in so and so areas. I would like to further my education, or I would like to form the habit of reading a book, a month or every 2 weeks, something like that. It is advised that you don't get into something that is over, above, and beyond certain things you can do with greater ease. This is not because we condemn ambition, but because we feel that it is important to be realistic. If our heads must be in the clouds, our feet must be firmly planted on the ground. It's Spencer Lewis. So within the first 52 days after the birthday, it's a period not just to make your New Year resolutions, but to implement them as quickly as you can. The fact is that those vibrations through which you emanated from your mother's womb have a tendency to repeat themselves within the first few days of your birthday, say a month and a half, for instance. And that is the month to embark on certain types of projects that require aggressiveness, determination, some measure of force, and all that. If you read that book, which was written over 100 years ago, by the way, by Spencer Lewis, and which contains lots of our Rosicrucian principles in this direction, you will also find that there are certain periods of the year in which you tend to be more spiritual, more focused, other periods in which you tend to be more materialistic and all that. And bear in mind that there's nothing wrong about being materialistic. There's nothing wrong about being spiritual and all that. But that at certain times of the year, you are more in a position to do some things with relative ease than at other times. And so the advice here is that since there are better times for doing certain things, why not engage with the cycles of life and flow with the rhythm rather than against such a rhythm? And I have found for myself and for our organization that some of these cycles are uniquely very important for executing certain projects and all that. And working with the cycles of life, we can come to terms with the fact that our destiny is in our hands, and every passing moment offers us an opportunity to create it, and that truly we are not victims of fate, but can afford to be masters of our destiny. Now, as for how many resolutions, again, we have to be realistic. If you like, write down 100 resolutions, but it is recommended that you focus on only one at a time. This is in line with our principles of concentration and visualization, so that you won't be like a man in his compound running after 4 hours before Christmas and not catching any before the new year. So it is advised that you focalize on one item at a time. There are items that are compatible with one another. Obviously, if it has to do with improvement and satisfaction, for instance, in business conditions, we are also going to look at matters pertaining to the workforce, the finances to cope with recruitment, and the capacity to pay on to those who merit higher pays and so forth. So there are several factors here that we must take into consideration, which is why I've said that if even you have 100 items and you take one at a time, within the first cycle, within the first period of 52 days after your birthday, you should have been able to take on quite a lot. Generally speaking, you find that all can be classified within 3-4 major items for as meditation point, prayer points that you focalize upon. And you do this in your normal meditation. You take it up to the level of the celestial sanctum. You bear in mind that what you focus on is the goal, knowing full well that the cosmic has other ways unknown to you through which you can attain your aspirations and petitions. Okay, next question or
Okay.
comment.
Thank you very much, Amos, for the Grant Administrator, for the response to those questions. So, in the chat area, there are lots of positive remarks with regards to today's session. And I really would have loved to go through all of them for you, but I suppose you're able to see them as well. But there's one that's outstanding for me. Reasons being, you just celebrated your birthday in this month. You just celebrated your birthday this month. So Frater Kingsley Idiabo is stating, we should be eternally grateful to our most worthy Grant Administrator, Frater Kenneth Idiodi, for this tireless and selfless service to the great work of AMO for nearly 5 decades. This forum is inspiring and we wish you happy belated birthday and peaceful fun. So, sir, before you say anything, I would also use the opportunity to say on behalf, although we've all done that personally, but on behalf of the Rosicrucians in Nigeria, West Africa, and worldwide, we want to say happy belated birthday and hope your resolutions are intact as well.
Thank you very much indeed, Sir Nefertiti. Thank you, Frater Kingsley Diabo. Thank you all who have sent me birthday messages. A number of you know this story. Growing up, I was not so much into birthdays until I got married, and my wife, Sarah Idiodi, was very particular that we celebrate it. And so, of course, we have the habit of a very special meditation on such a day, just as we do for each one of our family, and I mean, our Rosicrucian family, etc. But you see, what I've just done now, having this quality time with my fratres and sorors, is part of the fulfillment of my New Year resolutions that I made, that I find time under the new normals to be with fratres and sorors and to express my gratitude to each and all of you who have been with us on Zoom and other media this year. I noticed that some of you, like my humble self, have remained undaunted. We have decided that come rain, come sunshine, we'll find time to be together. But I was going to tell you that in my early years, I asked my mother why she didn't just wait a few more days so that I will have just been born on Christmas Day. That way, when we're all singing Merry Christmas, we're also singing about all those who were born December 25. And she told me that it was not within her power to determine the date of birth, which later on my father confirmed. And by the time I started having children, I now said, oh, look, we have the capacity to regulate these and say when they should be born. As some of you know that all three of my children are born in Leo, and then there's another one, in the sign of Aquarius. But I just wanted to say that there are very many things that we can regulate and go about. If we feel we want to have certain things happen at certain times, to a great measure, we can do this. So I'm grateful to each and all of you who have sent birthday wishes. I've tried to acknowledge some, but all by saying that I prayed that God grants you divine empowerment to overcome any challenges that you face and to swing into the new calendar year with renewed vigor and reinforced faith in the efficacy of the Rosicrucian principles and our capacity to grow ourselves, enhance our soul personality evolution, serve our common humanity, and bring into focus the need for more and more human beings to join the order and to embrace our philosophy of self-mastery, so that in the course of time, this world will be a better place than we met it or than we had several incarnations ago. And we should not give up at all on that. And I hope that for the New Year resolution of just a few days from now that we all make in January, we reinforce our faith in the ultimate goodness of humanity, bearing in mind that we individually and as a Rosicrucian family are an inherent part of humanity. And so if it's good for our fellow humans, it is good for all of us as part of the citizens of the universe. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Amos Wadi Grand Administrator. Now, some questions are in the chat area, but they are administrative questions. So I would want to use this opportunity to inform those who left those questions in the chat area that they should direct those questions to the administrative secretary. It's got to do with online monographs and some other initiations information. So they should get in touch with the administrative secretary. But just to, I don't know, but I need to read this, or I need to say this, and so the frater doesn't feel I ignored his question. The frater is asking, let me go back there. Basil Husu, I suppose this question is for you, Amos Wadi Grand Administrator, but then he's asking everyone here present, when are you visiting Centrum Lodge? So I was about asking him, is it that you're inviting all of us on this platform to Centrum Lodge? Because we are all over the world at the moment. But I suppose that question is for you, sir. He's asking, when are you visiting Centrum Lodge? And there's also another question from Frater Paul O'Reilly, and he's asking, with the present pandemic still ravaging countries, thanks to the cosmic for our country, is it likely that we would ever physically meet in Calabar for subsequent programs, bearing in mind the emergence of Zoom?
Okay, thank you. First of all, we have two conclaves in February, um, which were scheduled to be in Owerri and then in Ubomro, Owerri in Imo State, Ubomro in Delta State, where the Delta Edo conclave normally have their conclave, and then the Eastern Regional conclave. But we are having e-conclave, the seminar actually. We are calling them e-conclave or e-seminar. To be on, they will be on Zoom, meaning that more persons can even participate in those conclaves. As soon as the details are out, we'll place them on our website and give the link to participate in those conclaves. There will not, because of the position of the Supreme Grand Lodge, there will be no ritual, there will not have any ritualistic content. In other words, we won't do convocations on Zoom. We will not do, that's understandable, conventicles on Zoom. No, we won't do that. However, we'll feature discussions on the principles. And I think the theme of the conclave, I'm sure, the theme of this conclave is mystical awakening in tumultuous times. And a few of us will address the issues surrounding the theme and the sub-theme. And it will be good food for thought for our Rosicrucian members. And I'm sure that when that time comes, we'll also show you the procedure for registering for these conclaves. That said, we are working very hard. I mean, medical doctors are doing their best. Researchers are doing their best to come up with either vaccines or treatments and cure all. Then, of course, Rosicrucians and those into the mystical world and associated sciences, we also do our best to see humanity overcome this. We are hearing of second waves and third waves in places. Actually, we can't be grateful enough. In our jurisdiction, apart from the interruption for, 1 month or so, we've had our normal convocations, maintaining, of course, the preventive and the safety protocols that have been established by health authorities and governments on this pandemic. So we admonish our members to please, and our officers to please enforce within our meeting rooms in temples and places the safety protocols. We need them. Today we just finished with an end of year session in the Rose Choir Hall here in Calabar. And all of us wore masks, which is, as I say, it's not difficult for Rosicrucians, especially Martinists, to do. And therefore, we have no excuse, morally and otherwise, to not to observe these protocols. We owe it to our order and our common humanity to show examples in responsible behavior, which includes, of course, going by the safety protocols in a new normal. That said, since you have talked about when am I visiting a Central Lodge, I will tell you something. I first entered an aircraft and helicopter in 1961. And as some of you know, I'm a professional aviator. And between 1964 and 2019, I fly like every week or every other week, or at least every month within Nigeria, within the continent of Africa, and abroad a few times in a year. But this year, 2020, I attended the conclave in Port Harcourt, the Eastern Conclave, in February. And same February, I attended the one in Benin. And all these were road journeys. Then, the lockdown came on, and that was it. This year, I have not been to an airport, let alone entered an aircraft. And I know to those of you who know me for many years, it is totally incredible, but it is true. And it also means I really don't travel just for the fun of it. If there's a reason for me to travel, why not? But we lost appetite for traveling when there is nothing to do at the other end. That would be some definite form of service. So it's doubtful that I will travel by air tomorrow, which is the last day of the year. So that means this year has gone into my diary as a year in which I didn't travel by air. And I'm feeling quite comfortable, apparently, with being on the ground with every other person. And that's it. So Centrum, we'll be meeting on Zoom. Of course, at the earliest opportunity, I would like to be physically there because don't forget, we will have been there towards the end of this year. In fact, last month, for the convention, which had to be rescheduled, as you know, we rescheduled the convention that was to take place in Abuja with the theme service. We rescheduled it for November 4 to 7, 2021. So next year is a convention year for us in Nigeria. Hopefully, by that time, we should all be able to meet as a group in a hotel. But we're taking it one day at a time, 1 week at a time, 1 month at a time, while advertising this. Because if things like football matches and many other things have been rescheduled and postponed or canceled altogether, you can imagine the enormous work ahead of all of us in terms of planning for this convention. Rosicrucians want to plan in advance all the time. As you know, the next World Convention will be, I think, in Montreal, 2023 or so, Montreal, Canada. As the time approaches, we have to think of what to do. I can tell you that at the level of the Supreme Board, the Imperator, with the Grandmaster that will have been our host Grandmaster for a Supreme Board meeting in April, have postponed it. And we had 2 meetings on Zoom this year. And so we are following this situation and hoping that at a not too distant future, we'll be able to reassemble in our normal temples or hotel halls for convocations, conventicles, and conclaves, and ultimately for the convention in Abuja next year, November 4 to 7, 2021. So Central Lodge, of course, is in Abuja, and it would be nice to meet with officers and members there to deliberate about the convention and the logistics. If the new normals are sustained, a hall that would take 3,000 persons may have to take only perhaps 600 or so because of social distancing within the hall. So it's a challenge to all of us to focus and visualize a better environment for human beings to do our normal things. I know that even when things are restored properly, the Zoom culture is going to stay with us and will perhaps grow into ensuring that our various devices can maintain internet connectivity without echoes and wows and flutters and all that. So there are positive points. Always a good side to any bad thing, as you know, and sadly, a bad side as well to some of the very good things that we know, and such is life. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Amboswadi Grand Administrator. We do not have any questions, but before I will call you to give the closing benediction, I would also like to use this opportunity to talk to us here present with regards to the coronavirus. I have been reading some messages in the chat area, and I think we should try especially for the fact that someone like me, I live here in Lagos and we are experiencing upsurge in the virus here in Lagos. I would like us to know that wearing your mask, wearing your face mask, because of a comment I read now, wearing your face mask in public places and observing social distancing is very key. Please, we should all try to concentrate on the essence of the mystical message and the purpose of this forum. Thank you very much. I'm also the Grand Administrator. I would like to change today's session just a bit because I would like you to give the closing benediction and we are done. I would not want to say anything afterwards. So permit me to use this opportunity to say a very big thank you to all Fratters and Sarahs here present for taking out time. Yes, it's a holiday period, but not everybody is on holiday. So many people are still at their places of work. So many persons just got back from work. Even right now, the technical team and every other person in the English West Africa administration of the Rosicrucian Order are at work because of this forum. I want to say thank you for having us on this platform, for creating time to be here. And yes, today has been very interesting. And I also got to notice that we have lots of members from the United States in this particular session. Thank you for joining us, as well as others who joined from different parts of the world, from the UK, from New Zealand, from Ghana. Thank you so much. We appreciate your efforts and we appreciate all of you. Thank you. So on this note, I humbly request most of the Grand Administrator to give the closing invocation or remark before the invocation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sarah Nefertiti, and thanks to all who have close ranks with us to create the time to participate in this program. Some with little or no notice at all. And we appreciate that, the sacrifice that you make to be with us in combined efforts to render service to our common humanity. Fratres and sorors, please sit relaxed and let us breathe in and out slowly and be calm and at peace with ourselves. God of our hearts, God of our realization, in whose consciousness we live and move and have our being. Our help in ages past and our hope for years to come. We praise thee for all that we are, have been, and hope to be. In thy light, may we see light. Give to us the consciousness of oneness with each other and with thee, that thy truth may prevail at all times, and that we may know the freedom of thy divine unity. Grant to us the knowledge of thy laws and the consciousness of divine service, and a desire to receive that we may give, knowing full well that we can only receive as we are ready and willing to give. Under the auspices of the Rose Cross, into thy hands we entrust our fratres and sorors and our entire Rosicrucian family, the hierarchy of our order, our officers and members, as we gradually cross the threshold into the year 2021. We place our entire humanity under the auspices of your divine inspiration, guidance, and care, especially health workers throughout the face of the earth, research scientists who are working day and night on vaccines, on treatment, and cure. All those who, by metaphysical, herbal, and other areas in the healing arts, are offering assistance to minimize suffering, and through whom your divine nature offers the succor and solace that rescues them from sadness sorrow, and sickness. We ask that you bless all who are working for the health, happiness, and peace of all of us. Above all, that you harmonize and enrich our hearts and minds with your divine love and goodness, so that our acts of service to our fellow human beings may be to your glory, the good of all, and the evolution of our soul personalities. So mote it be. And now, Francis and sorrows, I wish you the best compliments of Yuletide, of Christmastide, and a very healthy, happy, prosperous, and peaceful New Year. Thank you very much. Peace profound. If you unmute, we may be able to say bye-bye to one another, and look forward to seeing you in January. We think 21st of January, Thursday, the 21st of January at 1 p.m. may be our first Zoom meeting on Celestial Sanctum.